Well, we got some fencing. We got a lot of work ahead of us. There's some decent stuff in some of these rolls. It's really thick, heavy gauge metal, but it's been sitting out in the woods. We got it off of someone to make some hay for. So there's a good roll. There's a decent roll. I think there's halfway decent one there. You can see there's a lot of rusted off stuff. So we're gonna have to do a lot of unspooling to find some decent stuff. Everything here on the truck, I think is just gonna be scrap iron. It's all pretty chewed up. But even on these where it's kind of like rusted in spots, where we still might have a good stretch of it, that's decent. We won't use that for a perimeter fence, but I'm thinking what we'll do is take those off and then make a frame or something out of wood and make small lambing or kidding jugs that we can use. Just different ideas what we're gonna do with it. Otherwise, if it all turns out to be junk, it is what it is, and we'll just go straight to the scrap yard. But yep, just picked them up out of the woods with this thing, and now they're back in another woods. So far back corner is what we're working on now. I cut up quite a few trees already today. I'm not cutting anything down, just cleaning up the stuff that is down. As you can see, there's a lot of debris in the woods here that needs cleaned up, and this would all be nice to eventually get paddocked up and utilize. And this is a pretty skinny part of this. We probably won't fence in any of this. Maybe eventually we will, maybe we won't. But as you can see, the driveway kind of tapers off to the right and it widens out. I think there's at least a good half acre or more on the left. So I think it's like a quarter to third acre, just ballpark looking at it. I'm gonna start fencing in now, and then there'll be another paddock, probably similar size on that side. And then this winter I can work on kicking into the woods and getting that all cleaned up. But we have a lot of work ahead of us here, and driveway looks pretty nice in this area. Still needs stone in the back. And we have plenty of work to do tomorrow. I don't know if we'll get any fencing put up. I highly doubt it. I gotta get the chain put back on the saw, and hopefully hit it hard tomorrow, get a lot done, and we'll see what deals we find on some livestock here before winter starts in, and be able to put some animals out here and utilize some of this this hay we have stacked back that way, and some of these big square bales of new seeding. Beautiful sunset today though. Well, we got what we need loaded up. Time to head back to the corner now. This is just where we were loading up the trailer yesterday. My dad didn't want to back the trailer up any further and get his truck dirty, I guess, which is no problem, but I can take the truck a lot further down here and probably will eventually stage it back there. But we only have an hour to work here now before we have to go somewhere. Then we're gonna load up some hay for delivery tomorrow, and then maybe come back later on this evening. Keep chipping away, but you can see we have a lot of treetops here that need cleaned up. So we got the woods logged, if you watched other videos, and then we have all these tops here. And I think there's a lot of valuable firewood in it. Like stuff like this, not really. We'll just cut it, lop it off, burn it. But when you get into some of these bigger diameter ones, I'm no expert, but we're gonna be saving that, chunking it up, and seeing if we can sell it and make some money off of some of this. But yeah, there's a lot of piles of just crap that needs burned. Well, burn pile's getting bigger. This looks nice and clean right here. This is kind of where I'm thinking we could use as a turnaround, park equipment, winter storage type of thing. And then the southern edge of this pen I'm going to make here, we'll kind of just start here with the trees and then just take it up and use these trees like corner posts and whatnot. So it'll be an odd shaped pen, kind of take a weird meander here, but I don't want to encroach on the drive by any means, and still have room to kind of get equipment around if we need to shuffle equipment around. Or we could even store hay right here or something. Then it's just quick to grab one with the bale spear and throw it in the pen. But it's going to be hard to see exactly what we want to do until we get kind of all this cleaned up. I did chunk up some, so we got to pull those out, but there's a ton of branches that just need pulled out, and without a grapple on a skid steer, it is pretty difficult. So it's either a lot of hand labor or just a lot of messing around with the skid steer, which I'm going in and scooping with the bucket and just pushing the stuff back blading it, and then just kind of taking the bucket and pushing it into the pile. It takes a little bit longer, but as long as it gets done. It cost me thousands and thousands of dollars to pay someone to do it. Well, in this case, I get to sell some firewood. Maybe we can make some money at that. And I'm only burning maybe a few $100s of diesel fuel and skid steer and gas and oil in the chainsaw. So far, I don't think we have a ton invested in it. Time will tell if it's worth it, but not too big a brush pile, but there's a lot that needs to go in it yet. I'm excited to get some animals out here. them T-posts right here so we know where they're at. In the pile. Very good. It's a good feeling to finally see some hay going out the door. 330 bales on this load. We got first cut grass, alfalfa, mostly grass. Some bales have a little more alfalfa, and I'm like this one here, you can see. Most of it is grass, like you wanted, which is nice. And then we got this grass alfalfa mix. This is third cut. He wanted second, but this is a little coarser stemmed. It's more like a second cut anyhow, and it was easier to get to, so that's what we're sending. And there's some more second cut. We started with that. Like, man, it's a real pain to get that out of there, and this stuff is just as nice, so we're sending him with this. Doesn't really come through on camera, but there is a lot better color in this this third cut than there is the second or the first, obviously. Definitely nice stuff. And for third cutting, I am kind of disappointed with how thick a stem this is. Normally get into those later cuttings, it's a lot finer stemmed than that. Just a lot coarser than I was expecting. I mean, still plenty of leaf, good color. It dried down surprisingly well. But this is the same field the first cutting was off, and you can see how much more grass is in that field. And I'm not seeing a huge stem diameter difference from first cut than I am third. And that's your third cut right there. It's right there's the two side by side, I guess. It's marginal at best. Some other stuff, it gets to be pretty fine stemmed and beautiful looking alfalfa come later cuttings. Pile's starting to get bigger. We had filled one trailer already. My dad was gonna take home and see if he can sell, and this is what we got made so far. It's looking really nice. We got all this pile. This will be a nice area to park some stuff. But we're gonna start fencing in hopefully in the next couple nights. Maybe by the end of the weekend we'll have some stuff fenced in. Lots of greenery there. They can already start eating right away, which would be nice. I'd like to do this before frost to at least get an experience, kind of see what they're gonna forage after and how things will look. But there's still some dead brush to clean up there. Some still over in this area, piled right there. I want to get out, and then we'll just start pushing through and just cleaning up any dead wood and anything like that, and just cleaning up the forest floor, leaving any green growth. Everything here is pretty well just treetops or stuff we kind of pushed out of the way to get this lane put in, so nothing was really growing in this area anyhow, so it looks worse than it really is. But this will grow up real nice. It was full of foxtail really before we came in here and started doing all this, so we aren't clear cutting the forest by any means, just trying to get stuff cleaned up so we can fence in some spots. So a tree like that we'll kind of use as a corner post in a way, go back to that corner and then start taking the property line that way, and then go from that tree, I think, somewhere in there, and then just shoot along the driveway going that way, and have maybe a 1/4 acre or so fenced in here. When we finally get a rain, we can try and burn that, but probably have to wait till crops are off. As you can see, beans are starting to turn. I don't want to set the neighbor's fields on fire. And then there's our lane that goes back to our property. Well, we're moving some round bales today. They didn't have an auction last week. This is the last of the straw bales we have to haul. There's a good amount in that pile. I'm just ready to see it all gone, honestly. Markets have just been kind of pretty poor this year, so we're moving something. We'll get about 30 bales on this load like we normally do, and probably end up with a little over $15 a bale for it. I'd like to be getting at least 20, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. We'll make a little bit of money on it, but hardly enough to be worth our while, but it needs moved. It's already paid for, so at least in a sense it's not necessarily profit, but at least it's money going into the bank with every load hauled up to auction. I think we got some help here to strap some straw down. 30 bales loaded and ready to rock and roll here. We got, I think it's like a 15-mile drive out to the auction house. They sell every Monday at noon. I don't know what you guys normally, if you have any issues with your goosenecks, this thing, it does seem to flex in the front of the trailer. You don't notice it too bad once you get it loaded, but when you're only loading the front, even if you do load it square, it seems like the passenger side here is a little bit lower than that side, and you can see it just kind of, it just tilts up like this a little bit here in the front. And there's like a flex plate in there, I think, so I don't know, maybe it's just the design. I'm just not a huge fan of that, but maybe that's for the best to keep things from breaking. Well, we're all loaded up. Nice thing about this auction yard is I literally just go out my driveway, take a right onto the dead end road we live on, take a left. I'm on that road for 3 miles, take a right, and the auction is just off of that road, maybe about 12 to 15 miles north. So I only have like 2 turns I need to make the entire drive. Super convenient. Now I just got to go find Luke, load him, and we can go do that. Here's where I found him. He's busy feeding goats, I guess. Apparently they don't want corn stalks right now. See how they're doing on feed. That little guy, we can't contain him at all. But there's the young stock pen. There's about 5 does in there. This is the 6th doe. And I think 25 there. I think she's bred and probably gonna give birth maybe in the next 2 months. Just a rough guess. I could be way off. Some of these others, I'm not so sure, but you can just see the size difference. Her bag looks a little bit bigger. But other doe is like 16 here. I think that's, I don't know who that is. But a couple of these girls here just really don't look like if they are pregnant, they're very not far along at all. But she's a good girl. I want to kind of keep growing this herd. We got so much hay. It'd be nice to have an outlet for some of the lower quality stuff. But come winter, I'm sure it'll all sell. She always looks at you goofy too, number 8. She's a good mom though, I like her.